Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 2nd September 2020. The first article by Mr. M.K. Narayan, it is, In Kashmir, still a long way to go. You know that Article 370 and 35A were repealed last year in August, and the objectives stated during this time are: one, greater integration of Kashmir with India; more jobs and economic growth for Kashmiris; and violence and terrorism are expected to reduce in Kashmir. But today, many of the leaders are still there in jails. Public Safety Act was invoked onto them. Second, internet and information is not available to the Kashmiri citizens. The jobs, etc., jobs and wealth which has been promised to them is elusive. And Jammu and Kashmir Grant of Domicile Certificate Procedure Rules 2020, they allow non-locals to apply for domicile certificates. Obviously, it is expected to change the demography of Kashmiris, and many of the non-locals are expected to come into Jammu and Kashmir. And with minimal jobs and resources which are existing over there, the competition is bound to increase. It all shows that we failed to deliver what we have promised. In this scenario, Prime Minister Vajpayee, he made three words: Kashmiriyat, Jamhuriyat, and Insaniyat. So these three are the way forward to solve the Kashmir issue and to integrate Kashmir with India. But today, the Kashmiriyat, the identity of the Kashmir, is expected to be lost. That is what is the feel of the Kashmiris. So what the author is trying to say, the calm which is appearing now in Kashmir is not the reality, and there is a lot which is bound to happen in the future. So the government need to be careful and take appropriate steps. So the development which is promised to them, if it is delivered, then it can solve the issues to an extent. Second, if identity of the Kashmiri is undermined, can they accept the development and keep silent? No. So Kashmiris have their own special identity, and the special identity need to be protected. So that is what is the Kashmiriyat mean. The second, Kashmir is in a very critical geographical zone. If you see, on one side you have Pakistan, on the other side you have China. So in between two adversarial countries we have Kashmir. That's why the geographical location can complicate the things further. This is what author is saying. Next is disruption and chalking out a new idea for education. Today, in midst of COVID-19, many of the private higher education institutions are facing a financial crunch and trouble. In the case of USA, the famous universities like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, they are not having any such financial crunch. Why? Universities have large endowment funds. Alumni, etc., corporates, they provide for huge funds to support research, to support academics in these countries. We do not have such a culture in India. For instance, Harvard has close to $40 billion funds which can support it during these times of crisis. In this scenario, the author argues that the situation in India also has to change. He called this as academics. Today, in the midst of COVID-19, the tuition fees, which are the major source of revenue for higher education institutions, are not coming. On the other side, their fixed expenditure like rents, like salaries, everything is intact. And moreover this, they have to invest on online resources to cope up with the existing challenges. It is putting them at a difficult position. So once this situation is over, government has to take few steps in considering the economics of these institutions. One, a kind of autonomy to determine their fees. Obviously, a surplus if they are able to generate, a surplus or a profit if they are able to generate, they can save for a wrong day. Let me put it again. In higher education or in schools in India, profit making is not allowed. So the profit making, if it is allowed, with certain maximal cap, the profits have to be set aside, can be set aside to improve the academics and also to meet the situations like COVID-19, emergency situations like this. This is what author suggesting here. The next article is Politics of Hate Speech. Hate speech, misinformation, threats, bigotry, and harassment. These are a new normal in social media. And giants like Facebook, YouTube, all these have to handle this. Today, every political party is misusing social media. And if you observe the Prashant Kishore's strategy, the political strategist strategy, he is majorly focusing on social media and creating a misinformation and sloganeering in social media. In this scenario, how the Facebook, YouTube, Google, these are making their data as an advantage for them and not taking enough steps to control this misinformation is the central theme of this article. A few days back, an issue has happened in Hyderabad. A woman complained in the police station stating that around 139 people have raped her, and she also took the names of certain celebrities. And everyone started making comments, derogatory comments, threatening their family members, etc., on the social media. Finally, she came forward yesterday and told to police that she just made certain false allegations. If you see this particular story, how the people are vulnerable, how their rights can be undermined by misusing the social media is a clear example. So, way forward over here is we have to regulate social media, and how to regulate social media is a big question. But how the social media giants are acting on this and what are their pitfalls, let us analyze them. One, Facebook is following different standards on hate speech in different countries. Its standards in USA and India are different. So a uniform global standards have to be developed. Second is the algorithms of Facebook or any global giant, they are mostly available in English. So, but you can post the comments in any language possible. So these algorithms need to be upgraded to ensure the monitoring of the hate speech across the languages, especially for a country which has so much of linguistic diversity, and identifying the hate speech in multiple languages is very important. Unequal treatment of hate speech is another complaint. Recently in Wall Street Journal, you saw that Facebook is treating hate speech from BJP differently from other political parties. In this case, providing for uniform regulation and monitoring of hate speech is essential. The Facebook like giants shall not have favorites and disfavorites. Their business interests shall not undermine the greater good. But there is a clear conflict of interest over here. How Facebook or YouTube makes their money, it is through advertisement. How people advertise on Facebook based on how many views they are getting, how many posts are being made. So hours of reading, hours of viewing, these becomes the basis on which they can generate the revenue. So which posts will be more viewed by the people? If they are controversial, extreme, people get attention to those posts. It means Facebook and YouTube in a way may encourage these extreme views on their platforms in the name of free speech for their own business interests. So promotion of hate speech is in clear conflict of interest with the business profits of these particular companies. So if the social media and media giants are not being well regulated and show greater transparency and accountability, then it can undermine our democracy and peril the liberal world altogether. That is the essence of this article. Treating data as commons. What is the major wealth of big companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, etc.? It is the data. If I want to start a new company and gather the data and compete with them, is it possible? No. So this article's central theme is data monopolization is creating huge monopolistic companies which in turn crippling the competition. Let me compare this situation to Standard Oil. So Standard Oil, owned by Rockefeller in USA, has created a monopoly in the oil industry. Finally, Supreme Court of United States of America has to intervene to break this Rockefeller's company into multiple small units. Then today, the competition has come into existence. The same thing has to happen with the data companies too. So, author what he suggests is we have to treat data as a common resource. Data commons have to be created. Data belongs to community and shall stay with community. That is the central theme. In this scenario, a committee was appointed that is called Gopala Krishnan Committee to look into the governance framework to handle non-personal data. It has given some recommendations. They are to treat data as a common infrastructure and make it available for all. Let us take a highway is there. Highway is an infrastructure. Everyone can access that particular highway paying certain fees. Similarly, the data sets will be maintained by the communities. Anyone who wants to access the data sets, they can pay certain fee to the community and access it. Second, community ownership of data shall also involve community management of the data. Finally, to break the monopolies, we have to separate two things. One is data owned by them, it has to make as a common resource, and a business delivery as another aspect. So, business delivery belongs to that particular company, but data belongs to every one of us. In this case, this helps us to break all these monopolies. A new democracy. Normally, what are the characteristics we identify with a democracy? One is multi-party competition, free and fair elections, universal adult franchise, rights of the people, equality, liberty, etc. So, invariably, democracy is also associated with free markets. This is leading to a situation where economic inequalities are rising and few rich people are holding the lot of wealth in the society. These rich people also want to hold political power and political decision making in their hands. Today, 1% of the population holds 50% plus wealth. Economic power, political power, they are getting concentrated in few hands. Ultimately, how it is manifesting as increased money power in elections, capture of media, and creation of information asymmetry. If we take in India, who is the largest media giant? It is none other than Mr. Mukesh Ambani. Next, institutional misuse, compromise of the institutional integrity. These are all happening with the money power, and money power is being used to get the political power into hands. And this accumulated power is damaging the democratic institutions. If this continues, the democracy will collapse from the pressure from within. You don't need external pressures to collapse the democracy. It is expected to collapse from within. This is what stated here. Next is inevitable collapse. Today economy is shrinking. Yesterday you saw that in the first quarter of this year around 23% shrinking of GDP is reported. Private consumption expenditure, exports are drastically falling. Only the hope is public expenditure. No private investments are expected to come now. But the public expenditure is also overstretched. You already saw that whatever the fiscal deficit benefit or fiscal space which is available for the government, it is totally been used up in the first 4 months itself. Now, what is the way forward? The instrument to fight the recession itself has become weak. Now the government has to be conservative, sitting on its fiscal deficit targets, or it has to become liberal. The way forward is government spiking up its public expenditure and liberating itself from the bounds of this fiscal deficit targets. If not, the economy is expected to be on a slippery slope. It is expected to have a free fall. So public expenditure, rising of it is the way forward. That is what author is talking here. Next is loan moratorium. You know that RBI announced for loan moratorium. At the same time, it has continued the imposition of interest rates or collecting the interest. And it is happening in such a way that banks are imposing today interest on interest. The matter went to the Supreme Court. What the government is trying to say in the Supreme Court is moratorium is extended for 2 years based on the discretion of the banks, financial institutions. But any kind of waiver of the interest will kill the credit discipline and cripple the entire financial sector. That is the side of government argument. Number of suicidal deaths grew in 2019. So National Crime Records Bureau under Ministry of Home Affairs, it submits the various kinds of crimes happening in India and the reports surrounding it. In that scenario, the accidental deaths and suicide deaths have increased in India in 2019 compared to previous year. Most of the suicides where they are happening in the urban areas, especially in stressful sectors. We need to understand it that way. India, Russia to hold naval drills in Andaman Sea. What is the name of this naval drill? Indra 2020. And yesterday you saw India has withdrew from participation in Caucus 2020, which is an exercise or military exercise of Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries. India aims for balance with slew of multilateral meetings. In midst of confrontation at LAC, India is diplomatically engaging with many countries. Defense Minister and External Affairs Minister are attending SCO meeting, and 2+2 meeting is scheduled with USA. What is this 2+2 framework? Defense and Secretary of the State in the United States of America will engage with Defense Minister and External Affairs Minister of India. This is what is called 2+2 framework, dialogue framework. And India is the only non-NATO partner which has this 2+2 dialogue with the United States of America. Added to that, External Affairs Minister is participating in BRICS summit too. So these are the points. And one more thing. Shinzo Abe and George Bush has worked to create a new framework of regional cooperation. What is its name? Quad. And External Affairs Minister is also engaging with the foreign ministers of Quad. Telcos to get 10 years to pay AGR dues to government. What are these AGR dues? Adjusted gross revenue dues. The Supreme Court has opined that in almost more than a decade, telecom companies benefited from the slew of policies of the central government, which has to be paid back to the government. Initially, it has stated that all the money has to be paid, more than 1.4 lakh crores have to be paid within 3 months. Now, it has extended the time over 10 months, 10 years. So, which has to be staggered into various installments. Proactive action by PLA again. PLA, People Liberation Army of China, tried to occupy and change status quo on the south banks of Pangyong Lake. Indian Army took appropriate defensive measures. That is what is the Army statement stated. So these are the articles for today. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Rambabu signing off for La Excellence. Now, a small announcement for you. On this Friday, I am traveling to my native place on personal emergency. So, Geeta ma'am will handle the current affairs for you on that particular day. Thank you very much.